Okay, so I make a lot of Vampire Slayer kits and I line them with velvet. So I'm going to show you today how to do that. This video is going to be about 20 minutes total in length. I'm going to try to speed it up through the boring parts like gluing and cutting. So we'll talk about supplies first. You're going to need scissors for cutting cloth, and I always mark mine, and scissors for cutting paper. You're going to need lots of E600. If you have a large box that you're working on, you're honestly going to use almost a full bottle of that stuff. And as far as glues go, I've tried using spray glue for this and haven't had as much success getting it to stick right. So I use the E600. You're going to need a 12-inch ruler, and I also use a yardstick for longer lengths if I need. You're going to need your fabric, and for this project I'm selecting crushed red velvet, so really pretty. And then clips. So I just use these, office clips. Any type of clip will work. And then we need something to wrap our fabric around, and so I use cardstock. In the past I've used mat board, but mat board's more expensive, it's harder to cut, you got to cut it with an X-Acto knife, and obviously it doesn't fold very well. And this is cheaper, and you can cut it with the scissors, so much easier to work with. So this is what I prefer now. It also doesn't take as much bulk in the box that the mat board did. So let's talk about boxes. I suggest, and you also need a pen and a pencil. I suggest when you're starting out that you pick a simple box to work on. And I'm going to have to pull these pieces out here before I can get started. So just make sure that the inside of your box is, you've ripped out any extra little pieces that they put in. We don't really need those, so and you won't see it. I'm going to pull those nails out. But just to make it simpler to put the insert in, I remove those. So this box had a little plaque here. I'm going to figure out something to cover that up later. But this is a vintage box. Somebody had it. It was covered. It's covered with leather or some sort of, maybe it's not real leather. I don't know. But anyway, I like to find boxes that look a little old. What you don't want to start out with is something like this. Now this is going to be harder to figure out the measurements because of the hexagon shape. You also should try to avoid boxes that have a curved top. This is also going to be harder to figure out. I might show you how to do this in a future video, but for now, for your very first one, keep it simple. So the first thing I do is to measure the box, and I'm going to bring my everything you don't need here, and I'm going to bring this over. So I'm going to measure the inner depth, and I don't know if you can see, but it's 2 inches. So one thing I do is subtract 1/4 inch from all my measurements because the cardboard plus the fabric provides some bulk, and you want this to fit, so we're going to subtract 1/4 inch. So like I said, it's 2 inches, so now we're going to go with 1 3/4 for those sides. I'm just going to write that down here, 1 3/4. And I'm going to do the width here, measure that, and it looks like 4 3/4. So I'm going to say 4.5. So this is by 4.5. And then we're going to do 1 3/4 by the length. So it looks like about 7 3/4, so we're going to do 7.5 inches. And then we have our top here, and we already know it's going to be 7.5 by 4.5 inches, but what we need to know is the depth. And it looks like an inch, so, sorry, an inch, so we're going to go with 3/4 of an inch all the way around. Like I said, if you were to make it exactly, it's going to come, it'll actually, because of the bulk of the fabric and the cardstock, it's going to come up above the lip here, and then you won't be able to close it. So that's why I subtract that. So then we, on the other side, let's see, we have 3/4 by 4.5 and 3/4 by 7.5 for our top part of our lid. Okay, so I'm just gonna utilize the edges I already have, so I don't have to make extra cuts. So I'm gonna start by measuring the 1 3/4. So I'm gonna do 2 of the sides here, 1 3/4. And if you're not confident of your drawing or your measurements, you can do this in pencil first. And then I'm going to do 1 3/4 this way. That doesn't look right, so let's try this again. 1 3/4 and 1 3/4 looks right to me, but it looks crooked when I put my ruler down for some reason. Looks like we're off a tad. Okay, so I am now going to do the width of the box, which is 4.5 inches. Four and a half. And now, make sure this is, and now I'm going to do the length of the box. So it was 7.5 inches. So that would be to here, and here. Now I'm going to do the side flaps on these 2 edges. So here, and then we need 1.5 this way, and 1 3/4, not 1.5. Okay, now I'm going to draw out the top insert. So I'm basically going to follow the same steps. So we said that was 3/4 of an inch here, and then draw that out. 3/4 of an inch this way. And now I'm going to do the width, 4.5 and 4.5. And then the length, which was 7.5 inches. And then the flaps here, which are 3. Well, that was tragic. Okay, sorry about that. The camera fell. So anyway, what I was saying was that we are going to draw out the 3/4 of an inch for these sides. So quarters. And okay, so I got the bottom insert and the top insert. I'm going to cut these out under time lapse and come back to you. Okay, there's two extra steps I do before I cut out the fabric. So when you fold these together, these corners are going to come together exactly, but when the fabric is on, it's going to take up some bulk. So I always cut away just a little wedge of extra cardstock on all 4 sides, just so I can get it to fit a little bit better. And this is through trial and error and projects that haven't worked very well because I haven't done this. So I do this on all the 4 corners, on the top and the bottom. And it's about a 1/4 or a 1/16 of an inch, I would say. So just a very small amount. You also don't want it to cut off too much because then you're going to have a gap. And you can draw it out if you're not confident. Okay, the next thing I do is I go over these lines pretty firmly so that I can make an indent. We're scoring it so that when we go to fold it with the fabric on, it'll be easier to fold. So I'm going to go over this maybe 4 times. Like there might be a hole in there already. I'll show you what it looks like when I turn it over. Okay, so you can kind of see that I've made score lines, and so when the fabric is on and we're ready to insert this, it'll be much easier to fold it. And so I just do the same thing here. The next thing we're going to do is to lay this out on our fabric and cut our fabric. Okay, so I have my fabric laid out, and so this is the wrong side of the fabric. And I just cut around it. I'm going to get something to hold this down so it doesn't move. I leave about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch around, and we also need to cut, chop off our corners here. When I do that, I leave about 1/8 of an inch. Let's see, there's about 1/8 of an inch there. And then you also need to cut towards the inside, and I don't draw any of this out. You certainly could if it helps you. Come around the other side here. Okay, we got that cut out. The next step is to cut out, and you can mark these if you want. So here we have top, you can see. Put a T there so that we know how to align it when we go to glue it. Now I'm going to cut out the top insert. So let's get this laid out nice and flat. It's a little harder when the box is smaller, so I'm cutting at a very odd angle here. You know, the line, your cutting lines don't have to be pretty. You're not going to see any of this. I just chop away. Okay, now I'm going to finish up with my corners here. Sorry, my hand is in the way. Okay, so we got this all cut out as well. I'm gonna get rid of my fabric. So I'm gonna put a T and try to mark this with a T as well. Okay, so I glue the side that is written on, and I'm going to cover it with glue in time-lapse speed, and then I smooth out the glue so there's no globs with my finger, and you can use a glove if you like, but at this point in my life I just don't care. So I'll meet you back. Okay, so now I have the glue spread out, and you saw me do that with my fingers. Now I'm going to lay this cardstock on top of the fabric, and you want to line it up the way you had it, and this looks great. I'm just going to wipe my fingers off and then press it down, and I made sure top was to top like I had it marked with my little T. I don't know if you can see my little T. Actually, we should turn this over and just make sure it's laying flat with no wrinkles, so it looks good. I'm going to do this side again, so the good side of the fabric is down, and I have my little T and my little T for top, and just going to line it up the way I had it. It looks a little, good thing about this fabric is it's stretchy. You can pull if you need to kind of make things fit right. So I'm just going to turn it over, make sure everything looks great. So the next thing we do is to, just going to press that down really well. I'm going to glue around the edges and then use our clips. I have all of these office clips, and we're just going to clip the edges down. So again, I'm going to do this under time lapse and then come back to you. Okay, so we have the bottom insert all clipped, and this will take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to dry. And here's the top insert. And so I'll get back to you in about 2 hours. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the clips. It's been a few hours. Sometimes they get glued. And that's what we have on the other side. Okay. Uh-oh. Something didn't stick here. Okay, well, we're going to do the bottom insert first, and I will re-glue this. And then we'll insert it later after it dries. So I usually start by gluing the inside of the box, and I'm going to speed that up while I glue and then get back to you. Okay, so I applied the glue to the inside of the box. Now I'm going to fold on my lines here. And we're going to insert this into the box. I always hope and pray that it fits nicely. My measurements were correct. And everything looks great. I have a little spatula tool that I sometimes use to kind of push the fabric back down into the seam there. So then I usually use clips to clip this in place. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get a clip back behind here. It's just way too tight. Usually it's possible, but so in this case where I can't put a clip back here, I'll probably set it on its side and then find something heavy just to kind of weight this down until it dries. And then, so I'm going to fix the one corner that wasn't glued on this, and then we'll insert that later. Okay, so I'm back. This has dried. I'm going to take the clips off. And then we're going to put the insert in the top. And I added some glue to this. So I'm just going to fold it according to the lines I scored. Oops, folded it the wrong way. Rookie mistake. Okay, so I'm going to see how it fits. And it looks like it fits great. So I'm going to go ahead and add the glue. All right, now we're going to put this in. And I'm going to add the clips, and then once it dries, it's done. I usually, of course, I add some trim to a lot of these, just to kind of spice it up a bit. And there you have it. Okay, so I thought I would show you what the box looks like completely finished. Closes really nicely. You can see there's a little bit of empty space, here, so that the box will close easily. And